I swear I'm not a gaming channel. I'll talk about hip-hop again soon, I swear. Pokemon has kind of been in a limbo for the past couple of years. I would say the science has really started with Pokemon X and Y, but really got started by the time we hit the Switch generation. Like everything up to Black and White 2 are very beloved, but then X and Y hit, and being the first 3D Pokemon game, it really wasn't as great as many people wanted it to be. People got attached to Mega Evolutions, but outside of that, X and Y didn't really leave that big of an impact on the franchise, which is a big deal when it's the first 3D Pokemon game. At least the remakes of that generation was still excellent. Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are still my favorite Pokemon games to date. I genuinely have no idea how people feel about Pokemon Sun and Moon. I think that speaks more for Sun and Moon than it does me. And then we reached the Switch era with Pokemon Sword and Shield, and oh boy, what a lackluster start to the Switch era. I have good memories with the game, and I still have a very soft spot for it, but oh boy, I'm not gonna pretend like this was a good game. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearls failed to deliver on the monumental expectations it had, and even then they were just bad games in general. And then we had Scarlet and Violet.
No, you can't! I won't do it! I won't do it! You can't make me! You can't make me!
Look, there was something here, but it's covered in a lackluster story, some of the worst level scaling I think I've ever seen in a video game, an embarrassing launch that puts Cyberpunk 1.0 to shame, and they didn't even fix it. I didn't like Scarlet and Violet. I think the only Pokemon game that was praised during this generation was Pokemon Legends Arceus, and that's mainly because it was a game that actually tried to innovate on Pokemon. And then Scarlet and Violet cut out all the fun stuff, which leads me to the thesis of today's video. In the 4 generations that released after Pokemon Black, White, and 2, Pokemon has not evolved.
Hey, Peggy, let me talk to him one time. Hold up.
Now, I don't mean this in the sense that they kept up the same gameplay for years and years on end. In fact, that's a statement that I very much disagree with, and it's very much the popular opinion with Pokemon.
I'm just giving you my perspective on it. It's a game that I'm very confident I would not enjoy, because it looks like the same fucking game I've now played a million times from Pokemon. It does not look like a game I would enjoy, thus I will be sitting it out.
Absolutely no hate to Charlie, I love the guy, but I don't get the whole argument of Pokemon has remained the same for years now, where that has been further from the truth. If anything, they have the complete opposite problem. I think it may come from the fact that there were much more substantial differences jumping between Gen 1 to Gen 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. Like jumping to Gen 4 to 5 alone, you have a completely new region filled with Pokemon that are only from that region, no returning Pokemon at all. Instead of being based on a part of Japan, it's being based off a part of America, which means more people of color, more different Pokemon that's very unique to America. Different culture styles that you see throughout the region. Gen 5 was still arguably the biggest switch up for Pokemon, and it's part of the reason why it's my favorite. It kept the core of Pokemon even if it didn't change the gameplay all that much. But the same magic trick wasn't going to work with X and Y. They needed something new, which is why they introduced Mega Evolutions, which was a great shakeup to the formula. Only problem is, it made the game way too easy. Especially when most of the trainers in the game can't Mega Evolve themselves. But because of the great reception Mega Evolutions got, it now kind of felt like every single Pokemon game had to have some sort of gimmick, and most of them were really pointless one way or another. Sun and Moon had Z moves, which were very dumb. Dynamaxing was a little cooler, but the problem was that it only happened during gym battles, so you couldn't really do it all the time like you can with a Mega Evolution. And even then, they were extremely unbalanced. And then Scarlet and Violet had the most drastic changes compared to all the modern Pokemon games, where it was a lot more open world, and your Pokemon can become more gem-like, which gives them another type. The problem was the open world didn't have the right level scaling to accommodate for it, so you would get your ass beaten if you go against a gym battle that you're not ready for. So at that point, what is the point? Why give me this open environment if I still have to challenge the gyms in a specific way? Also, terrestrializing just wasn't really that substantial of a gimmick and didn't really have that big of a change to battles. But Legends Arceus was the most drastic change to the Pokemon formula we've seen in so long. And at the time, it was such a fresh breath air. Not everything worked, like the battle system for example being very half-baked, but god damn it, they gave it their all with this one. And then they threw it away next game. What all these games have in common that they try to innovate one way or another, but none of them really succeed at it. Like, why drop Mega Evolutions after Gen 6? Why not expand on that? Why drop some of the mechanics of Legends Arceus? You could have made something great with that. Why do Z moves even exist?
This is boring.
I agree with the notion that Pokemon has gotten really stale, but it's not even the fact that they don't try to do something different, more so the fact that they don't ever stick to the difference. Sun and Moon, for example, got rid of the traditional gym format, and it was something new and fresh. But after that game, they never tried anything cool like that again. Granted, it wasn't really well done in Sun and Moon, but that was something to expand on. Instead of expanding on it, or maybe taking a year or two off, nope, I guess we'll never try that again. And then rinse and repeat. Even X and Y, as controversial games as they were, people still loved the Mega Evolutions out of them, but they were just left to rot for 3 generations. Where's the logic in that? Isn't the point of a sequel is to take what worked in the last game and apply it to the new one? Why are we just abandoning ideas? Sure, X and Y was piss easy, but there was easy ways to fix that. That doesn't mean the gimmick deserved to be shelved for the rest of its life, and that goes for all the other gimmicks. Even if I didn't like them as much as Mega Evolutions, they deserve to be expanded upon. That's why I didn't want to play VA, because I expected the same crap. And it ended up inspiring this topic. I've been playing through Legends ZA and I had the lowest expectations going into the game, and honestly, I wasn't even gonna play it. But I got it for my birthday and my dad really wanted me to give it a chance, so I thought, I got it for free, why not? And it was his big comeback to the franchise, so it was making me happy that he was enjoying it. I just didn't want to play it, but I buckled down and gave it a chance, and
I like it.
the way people were talking about this game gave off vibes like it was just the same bland Pokemon game, and in many ways it is, but I'll be damned. It has some really good ideas. For one, they brought back the catching mechanics from Arceus, which is a godsend. Combat has been majorly improved, now being real time, so it makes you have to think quickly. It also recontextualizes some moves like teleport or bounce, because they could be easy ways to dodge upcoming attacks. You essentially have to relearn how to battle, think differently on what you add towards your party. Like, I have this Halucha and he knows bounce, and originally I would just replace that with aerial ace. Mainly because I don't really like how 2-turn moves work, and it was never really my favorite thing to use. But in this game, 2-turn moves take longer to hit in real time, so instead of me waiting a turn to attack, I am actively dodging my opponent's upcoming moves and attack unscathed. I still think Megas make this game way too easy, but hey, it's more likely you'll face a trainer with a Mega Evolution here than it is in X and Y, which is a massive plus in my book. The game's visuals are horrible, but the animations and models are extremely well done. And I also think the story where you have to rank up to become the best in Kalos is really intriguing, and I'm actually finding myself liking the characters I'm playing along with. They all have their own personality, which is a high bar in this franchise for some reason. And none of them necessarily feel underutilized, all of them get their time to shine. And there's also moments in this game where its writing genuinely makes me laugh, especially in the side quests. Some of them can just be boiled down to just battling, which those side quests aren't really too fun, but others can be just dealing with Pokemon in an average day. There's a chessman who's pulling a Jibanyan and trying to fight a car, and he apparently does this frequently. A Slurpuff that's angry because their trainer won't bring him to the cafe, so you have to bring them to the cafe. And you see, now they're no longer grumpy. I don't hate this game as much as I thought I would, and I'm honestly pretty happy about that. But I do kind of get why people don't like this game, or just straight up refuse to play it. The game's start is really slow. In the first 2 to 3 hours of this game, I was ready to drop it. It does start to pick up afterwards, but you have to go through so much before it does. And also, this game looks bad, like really bad. I know looks is just one part of a game, like I like Sonic Frontiers, but it's a very ugly looking video game. But this is a $1 billion company at this point, and you're telling me the games can't look any better than this? Again, I really love how the animations look, I really love how the models look, but all of that doesn't matter when the game's textures and colors look so bland. We're in a city, it should be bright and colorful. Speaking of the city itself is fine, but could have been expanded on more. Like a Pokemon game that takes place in one city maybe could have worked. Cyberpunk is a game that takes place majority in one city, and it has such an expansive world that we don't really mind that. But when there's not really that much interesting point of interest, it makes your open world city feel a lot more closed off. Also, this is a minor complaint, but I don't like the name Legends ZA. Pokemon Legends Arceus focus a lot on its past, and I really don't like that ZA uses the Legends name, but it takes place in the future, and it's technically a sequel to X and Y. Also, this game costs too much money. I got it as a gift, but I imagine I would be a lot harsher on this game if I paid the full $70 on it. Not to mention the $30 DLC when this game wasn't even out. Also, quick side tangent, this isn't a $100 game. People are saying that because the DLC combined with the game itself is $100, and it's very obvious that the DLC is just cut content. And while I can get it's frustrating, you can do the very easy thing of just not buying the DLC and wow, it's $70 all of a sudden. Phantom Liberty technically has some stuff that should have been in the game in the first place, but does that mean Cyberpunk is all of a sudden a $90 game? No, because that's stupid. Also, before I end this quick side tangent, people are mad that you can't sit on chairs. I don't understand why people would care to do that in the first place. I get being mad at roller skates being cut. I get being mad at the fact that you can't go in a lot of the buildings in a game that takes place in a city. But chairs? You're mad that you can't sit on a chair? What would that change in the game? I do get why people don't like this game, and this isn't me saying that all the hate is invalid. I think there's stupid arguments from people who didn't play the game, but at the end of the day, if you don't like the game, you don't like the game. And despite me liking the game, I'm not blind to disagree that Pokemon fans do deserve a better game. There's a lot of good videos going deep into the problems with this game, and they're allowed to not like it, just like how I'm allowed to like it. But here's my thing with ZA. Despite me liking the game and thinking it's a great 6 out of 10, that doesn't mean I like Pokemon all of a sudden again. We've been through this before. I love Pokemon Legends Arceus, and they immediately cut all the ideas I liked from that game. And I'm liking a lot about ZA. Who's to say they're gonna cut out all the things I like about this game? Who's to say that the combat system is here to stay? Not to mention the game looks like a bad port of a PS4 game to Switch 1. So who's to say the next game won't look like that? I may like this game, but that doesn't mean I all of a sudden have faith that they can change things around, because I don't. There's a good foundation here, but I'm sick of good foundation. Hell, I said that about the last Legends game, and people said that about Scarlet and Violet. People said that with X and Y. People said that with Sun and Moon. How many times are we gonna get a good foundation till you can make a good game? These games don't make sense as yearly or bi-yearly releases anymore. You can see them trying to do as much as they can with these games, but they clearly don't have enough time to flesh it out. Pokemon recently had a massive data breach recently, and while I won't show any of the work that got leaked, I will state that the next few Pokemon games are not too far from now. Also, a lot of cut content from ZA got leaked, showing how rushed this game truly was. I know some people want me to come say how lazy these games are and how ashamed Game Freak should be for rushing these games out, but honestly, I don't see the point in doing that. Not because, oh, poor big company, they can't afford a second yacht, but because I feel like the majority of people are missing the bigger problem. I said this in my Nintendo fans videos, but these developers has less than 2 years to work on these games. Hell, they're working on these games in between other games. The gap between Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet was less than a year. Do you really think Scarlet and Violet had less than a year to be developed? Or more likely, they were working on this game alongside Legends Arceus. They have to develop these 30 to 40 hour long games, and at the end of the day, they come out with a product that could have been so much better if they were given more time. ZA was just barely given enough time, and it still came out rushed. These games are getting too big for just these 2-year dev cycles. And Pokemon Company needs to give these developers more time to finish the game, polish them, and make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because I can feel the passion in these games. I can feel the passion trying to come out. Like another franchise that I know that has similar slump, but I can't really remember the name of it. This isn't me trying to defend these games, more so trying to show you the bigger picture. And that's coming from someone who hated Scarlet and Violet. That's coming from someone who had the lowest expectations of Legends ZA. And I know what you're already thinking, and I'm one step ahead of you.
About to begin.
Digimon Time Stranger is such a banger of a video game. It is everything I want in a new Pokemon game and more. This game was built off the foundation of the last 2 Digimon story games, and on the 3rd try, they fucking nailed it. It's a Digimon game like it was developed by Atlas, and it's awesome. And I'm not even that big of a Digimon fan, but I played the demo of this and loved it so much I bought the game. Another franchise similar to this was Yokai Watch, my beloved. By the 4th game, they were doing a whole ass action RPG. Sure, these franchises aren't as popular as Pokemon, but they evolved their style so much quicker. Yokai Watch 4 had 4 years in development and it came out better than the Pokemon game of that year. I still like ZA, but that doesn't change the fact that the game is unfinished. Like, how in the year 2025 do we still not have any voice acting? We're past the GBA now! You can do this stuff! Pokemon today is rushed, it can't stick to a single idea, and is just always disappointing now. And I want to emphasize as much as I can, I do like ZA, I do like a lot from it. But I get why people don't like it, I get why people won't give it a chance, because they're tired of this. And I do get that there are grifters in the mix that do muddy the waters. Like some of the people I mentioned got a down payment on a new house that month. But just because there's a few bad people in the mix doesn't mean the whole ZA hate is forced. Because a lot of it is understandable. A lot of the frustration from Pokemon are from people who want better. And I can't really blame them. And the fact that the next entry is very close by is very concerning. I want to wake up one day to a fantastic Pokemon game that really fleshes out all its ideas and truly feels like the next big step to the franchise. I want to be out of the, well, it wasn't as bad as last game era. I want Pokemon to finally evolve and keep innovating with that evolution. And I can only pray the next game can give me that. You see, notice how I did that entire video without mentioning Power World once?